So I want to welcome my two guests today. This is Geraldine Smith from Cross-Pollination and Cross-Pollination Tours. And today we're speaking to Cindy Hilton and Belen Guruchaga. Hopefully I've got that right and I'm not
Perfect.
Butchering your name, Belen. My limited Spanish. But these two wonderful ladies have an incredible double country tour that I think our listeners are going to be really, really excited to hear about today. We have a few questions to kind of help listeners understand a little bit more about what's involved in this upcoming trip in November 2020 to the countries of Argentina and Chile. Two extremely cool countries. I can't wait to be part of this trip myself. I myself am going to be a first-time traveler with them, and I trust that they are the experts in this because they've been doing this a little bit together, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So just as a little bit of an introduction, ladies, if I'll just ask you each to say hello and just tell us a little bit about who you are, what your background is, and kind of what gave you the idea to start the tour and maybe even start working together. So Cindy, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you for inviting us to join you today, Geraldine, and tell you a little bit about our trips that we do. My name is Cindy Hilton, and I'm the owner of Simply Culture Boutique Travel. And we offer culturally immersive trips that help people really understand the place that they're traveling to at a deeper level. And I've been doing this for 9 years now. And actually, I don't know if you remember, Belen, but originally you gave me the idea to start this type of a company because of some visitors that you had at your resort. So I'll turn it over to you, Belen.
I didn't remember that. Excellent.
Yeah.
We never know where we're going to spark an idea. It's so great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Belen Guruchaga, and yes, you say perfect. Girl, you didn't murder my name. And I work in agriculture for many years, major, and we moved back to I was living in the States, and I moved back to Argentina, and we started this hotel business with men, and now 2 kids we have. And we just we love servicing and helping people and getting people to love our culture and the customs of the place where we live. And we have met. I'm a very good friend for many years, and we know each other for 19 years, I think now. And it's a long time. And so when I thought Cindy came out, I probably triggered it. Cindy has always been in love with other cultures, and she loved the Latin cultures, and she had traveled a lot in Central America. And then when I moved here, they came with her family many times to Argentina. And I just love to see, yes, I valued, when I got back to my country, I valued more a lot of culture that we have, and the values, family values, social values, and our the art country and the nature, most of it, because of we have a large country with a very low population in number and quantity. So there's a lot of nature to see in Argentina. So I like to see people enjoying it.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. So that was kind of the impetus for you starting your hotel business then, I guess, is to share.
Exactly.
Fabulous. And so just to ask you both, so this is a double tour going to Argentina and Chile. And obviously, there was that connection that you had, which is really what my company is about. Cross-pollination is all about making those deeper cultural connections, which quite clearly you guys are, your friendship is a testament to exactly what happens when that takes place. So that's wonderful. But Chile is in there too. And maybe Cindy, you can talk about why the double trip, because already one trip is spectacular. So, for people who are new to this region of the world.
Yeah. When I've been with my family down to Argentina to visit Belen, we also would spend time visiting Chile because it was so close. And Chile has some spectacularly beautiful scenery. I mean, the nature there is gorgeous. And culturally, there are some differences from Argentina, of course. And there's an indigenous community in the south of Chile, the Mapuche people, who I was fascinated by and have enjoyed learning about. So I just felt like it was a great combination. If people are all the way down in South America, it's great to be able to spend a week visiting each country and getting to appreciate the different aspects of both countries.
Oh, what a great idea. Yeah, to really compare and contrast and kind of feel, as you said in the beginning, get a sort of a deeper awareness into the cultures rather than just being a tourist and kind of hitting the top sites.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's a different experience when you're really getting to learn about the people who live there and hearing things from their perspective.
How wonderful. And so can you share, what are either the places or the things you love showing off the most? Maybe Belen, maybe, you'd like to tell us a little bit about what you're the proudest of and sharing.
You know, I like to get to see, I like to see people getting involved to things we do every day and we take for granted, like they're just so common. And I like to see their faces like, wow, how do you do that? Why do you do it that way? And it's fascinating to see how people react. And I think that's something that you kind of put a value to, and it has nothing to do with the Iguazu Falls, something that are cultural. They're known because their beauty or because they are so extreme in the world, and a lot of people come. But if you go to those places, all you see is foreign tourism, and it's prepared for foreign tourists, and you almost don't see the inner part of the culture. And a lot of that perspective when you go to the most famous, even in Buenos Aires, and you see a lot of the tango, but that's about it. But you don't live the experience of the inner part of the people. There's a lot more than the tango and the Iguazu Falls and the glaciers in the south. Those are probably the three most well-known things in our country that foreigners come to see. But this is a lot deeper, and it gets them involved with roots more than with those scenes.
Excellent. Can you give one example of something that would be different that you guys like to share or show off?
We like to do the dyeing of the wool. We have harvest. We have wool from the sheep, and we teach them how to dye them with natural dyes from plants that we actually collect here from the forest. And it's just an amazing thing to see how this tiny that looks like nothing, it can give you that awesome color. And then we do some knitting with them, and it's very neat to do because it's common here, but it's not common for everybody. And probably when we go do the tours to the hills here, and they get to see how somebody, we call them eros, the people that live on top of the hills, and they raise animals and they share with you. You tell them in advance that you're going, they get the horses ready for you to go visit an abandoned mine from the Second World War, which it's like an abandoned town, which is turned into a tourist spot now. And it's a wonderful trekking and horseback riding experience. And then we go to eat at Tono's house. Tono is a very famous character that lives up on the hill, has 11 that they're all up, and they have even he has grandchildren there. And they go and choose what you're going to eat, and you choose the lamb, or I mean the one sheep, or the sheep, which is goat. And then when you get back from the tour or the trekking, they have it ready for you. And it's neat to see. They live so detached from everything, and it's a very unique experience to get to spend time with them.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Mhm.
Cindy, did you have anything you wanted to add there?
Yeah, I was going to add, I think that something maybe that Belen doesn't even think about, because like you said, it's something that you guys do every day, is the whole ritual of enjoying a mate tea together.
Oh.
And I I always prep my travelers before the trip. We'll have a time to meet together so that people know what to expect. And I love sharing with them that the mate culture, or ritual rather, is a ritual that creates community. I mean, it's really creating, reinforcing your friendships and reinforcing the togetherness of your social group. And there's a person who pours the mate, and then they pass it around from person to person and share. And everybody, when I tell them about it, they're Americans are sensitive to germs, I should say, and everybody a little bit shocked. And then once the travelers get there and they really feel like they are being invited into a family when you go visit La Quinta Resort and Belen, and when we learn about this, and everybody feels so included there and at part, and everybody really wants to share in the experience, and it's a complete shift in our mindset. And I really believe that it has deep implications for how people connect with each other. And it might seem so simple and everyday to somebody who lives in Argentina, but to an outsider coming in and being invited into that experience is something special. So I think that's probably one of my favorite things.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, I love hearing you both talk about your favorite things to share, because obviously, Belen, you're the host in a way, and
yeah,
even though you're the tour operator and you're leading people who are, culturally probably mostly from the US, so therefore a monoculture going to visit another monoculture. That is the perspective, right? Because we lead such busy lives in the US. And it is very difficult to connect with people in a really sincere, authentic way. So something as simple as a ritual, like just sharing a cup of tea or mate.
a mate, yeah.
Mate. Yes.
But let me tell you something really very short about mate. It's funny that Cindy mentioned, I haven't thought about that before, because it's the most shocking experience for anybody from other country that comes here. It's other, you can think about mate being like a tea that you pass around with straw, that people share the same straw. And it's so much more than that. When you walk to somebody's house, or you just meet somebody, let's say at a park, and you're with a group, and then somebody passes and they say, do you want a mate? When somebody offers you a mate, they offer so much to you.
Huh.
It's intimate. It's sharing part of themselves, part of their lives, and it always goes with you talk. I mean, you just don't pass it and just you're not quiet. You talk. It implicates talking. When you pass the mate, because somebody's holding the thermo or to serve it, and somebody is and so you're connected and then as a family, when you have kids, start sharing mate with you, it's a sign of maturing. When it's everybody, when they say, oh, you know what, today I share mate with my son, means generally they're becoming teenagers, and that means that you sat around a table or at the patio, and you were sharing the mate, so that means sharing your lives, and you give the mate to little kids. So it shows that kid is growing if you started having mate with them. You know what I mean? So it's a very special. It has a lot of emotions involved.
That's excellent. What would you say is sort of the age range? Because I know that you guys have different, you'll have family members coming on this trip. So is there anybody who might be included or excluded in this activity when you're bringing groups?
Oh, anybody can try, but a child, a little kid, anybody younger than has the mate, you can have the infusion, the mate in a container and in hot water, and we call that mate cocido, and it's very common for little kids to have it. You add sugar and milk or honey, and all kids like it. It's very strange that a kid won't like, but having the actual mate with a straw, it's a lot stronger. So it's not the kids. Most of the kids would go, ugh, but it's not for little kids to like it.
Oh, okay. Gosh, I hadn't even realized that was part of the trip that you guys do. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
You will try it soon.
Yes, yeah, you'll have to come and have a mate with us. And I think that what Belen's saying is that time, that like sacred space to sit down and be together and share time to visit with one another is something that we don't have enough of. You know, we're just going, and sadly, often even with our own kids, we don't have the time to sit down and do that. So it is special. And it was something originally when I brought my family to Argentina, when my children were young. I just remember every afternoon sitting around the pool, and Belen, all of your friends would come over with their kids, and the moms would all sit around and visit with each other, and the kids would be playing. And what a special lifestyle, you know, what a special way to live. And it's fun to share in that.
That's excellent. I am actually going to say that I think what we should probably do is take a quick break. But
okay.
I have loved this, but before we do take a quick break, can you just spell mate so that any listeners can actually Google it, and that way they can kind of see some of these photos. We also have photos of the wool dyeing on the website, and if you check out our blog, we have a newsletter. It's at crosspollination.com. You can sign up for travel shots, and you'll probably be receiving some of the pieces of this interview as well on there, and you can get some better ideas as to what some of these things are. But could you spell that for us, Belen?
It's MATE. M as in mom, A as in I'm kind of think of a word with an A. Aaron, your husband, Aaron. T as in Tom, and E as ear.
Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you. We will come right back. We have a few more questions for you about this fantastic November 2020 trip to Argentina and Chile. And I'm with Belen Guruchaga and Cindy Hilton of Simply Culture Boutique Travel, and we'll be right back. So, hello ladies, it's great to see you again. Thanks for taking a quick break with me, and we're back with Cindy Hilton and Belen Guruchaga. We are talking about our Argentina and Chile trip of a lifetime to visit these two wonderful cultures and countries in November of 2020. So the next question I had for you is just simply, you know, not everybody wants to travel in a group, because I know, at least when I was a kid, and I won't reveal my age, but many years ago, you know, we did take a couple of group trips, and you know, they weren't what we wanted exactly, because you'd feel somewhat tied to a strict schedule or certain places. And you know, somebody like most of the travelers that I was with on that group really wanted a little bit of a richer experience, and kind of to see more than just quick highlights and quick feel like they're being ferried back and forth on a bus and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So group travel sometimes gets a bad reputation for people who, especially, you know, this might be their first, and probably is their first, international trip, and they would like to see something a bit more. But maybe they're afraid, or they don't, you know, they don't really have those connections. So can you talk a little bit, maybe Cindy, you've been a tour operator now for close to a decade and leading these kinds of tours for people. Can you talk a little bit to what's the benefit of going on a group tour? rather than just booking your own itinerary.
Yeah, certainly. I think the biggest benefit of going on a group tour to, especially to a country like Argentina, or also to Chile, is that you're getting a way of connecting with local people. Like you said, you might not have these connections. Most people don't. So we're really inviting you in through the back door to these places. So I think that's primarily the most important thing, is that you're getting to have experiences that you really wouldn't be able to have on your own. Another benefit is people just live busy lives and they don't have the time to figure out all of the details and the logistics. And certainly they're able to do it, but they just don't have time in their lives to do it. So, so that's another benefit. And I think sometimes people are afraid, like, who else will be on the group trip? Like, who am I going to be stuck with for 2 weeks?
Definitely.
And I think that the special thing about this experience is it's really a self-selecting tool.
Interesting.
It's going to end up creating a group of like-minded people.
Huh. How so?
It's people who are interested in art, food, music, nature, really getting a local, authentic experience are going to be the people who sign up for this type of a group trip. So it's been my experience that people tend to have a lot in common and tend to get along really well with each other. And it's a small group. It's not like we've got a bus of 50 people that we're trekking all over, South America. So, and another really great thing is the way that I set up the trips. They're very structured, and you have a trip guidebook that tells you exactly where we'll be and what we'll be doing at what time. And it's perfectly okay to just say, you know what, I'm just not interested in this particular thing. And today we're going to take a day to sleep in and spend some time at the pool, and we'll catch up with you at the next event. So my trips provide a lot of flexibility and structure that people can know exactly what's going on and what's for them.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's very difficult to do. I know as a planner, a lot of you make it look easy. On the surface, that is hard to, if somebody even just thinks about planning for just their small family group and different personalities, and say a family of 4 or 5 already, that can be very tricky to please everybody. But you've obviously managed to do that based on the raving reviews that you guys get, and the repeat travelers that you get. So that's amazing.
Yeah, but then we put a lot of thought into that.
Yeah. So have you any other thoughts about some benefits that you see, as more as sort of the country host rather than the tour host?
I think the biggest thing, I agree totally with what Cindy said. It's perfectly set up to where people are comfortable, and they have every day they have some time off. They can, and even if they hire or they want to stay, they will not, because they're with somebody. It's like they can in a pool or laying in the sun. And but what I think is the biggest advantage, it's opportunity to open minds and hearts to diversity, which is, I think, it's the biggest, I wouldn't say a problem, but being open-minded to whoever is different nowadays, it seems to be
it's a challenge.
So it's excellent. It's an excellent opportunity to see that there's another world, there's other type of people, and there's other ways of living.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So, you mentioned actually, Cindy, that you do have this good solid structure that you build into each of the trips. And of course there's flexibility within there for the just if somebody's jet lagged or just doesn't feel up to it, or maybe somebody gets, a little sniffle or something and just wants to relax a little bit more one day. But are the trips in general always the same that you do, or, how do you go about figuring out the activities that people will like, I guess?
Well, the trips, I guess we're constantly improving them. We're committed to to a culture of excellence, and making sure that everything that we do has value and is really a spectacular experience. So we've worked on maybe this time combining some activities together to make a more efficient use of time. So there's small things that change, but for the most part, everything stays the same. Although we're really excited, we're going to be including morning yoga on a few of the mornings on this trip. So Belen's working on getting some English yoga teachers, and so it's not going to be every morning, but we're going to include yoga as an option on this trip. So that's new for us.
Ooh.
And kind of what Belen was talking about, that one of the goals of our trips is to really get people to open their hearts and their minds and to have that personal transformation. And I think we were thinking that starting off a morning with yoga and some mindfulness is a good start to setting the intention for the day.
Excellent. Do you have to have ever done yoga before? Like what, my husband may or may not be that into that, but I do.
Right. And it's absolutely optional. It's just going to be an optional offering in the morning. I do yoga alone in my bedroom with Yoga by Adrienne YouTube video.
Sorry, from Austin, actually. So.
That's right. She is. So I'm not a yoga pro at all, but I just love even just doing the breathing and like starting out the day that way. So no, you don't need to be a yoga pro to
Excellent. Join in. And if her dog Benji can do the yoga moves, then I definitely have no excuse.
That's right. That's right.
That's great. That's great. So, well, I guess, would you have any tips for any future guests who might be interested? Because you have talked about quite a variety of different things. And, this is a cultural immersion trip that we're talking about into both of these countries. It's not too long. It's a weekend each. But are there any, there may be somebody on the fence and they may be thinking, oh, I don't know, maybe I'll just book my own itinerary. It might be better for me to just, be the master of my own ship, so to speak, and do it. Or, gosh, this does sound interesting. And wow, maybe I can, put up with a couple of other people on the group, and maybe I might even meet some great people that way. Any tips that you've got for people who are kind of a little on the fence about whether or not this is the right way to go for them?
Yeah, I would definitely say a good way to get an idea and a feel for the trip is to follow us on Instagram at Simply Culture Boutique Travel. And you can go back through our photo library and learn a lot about the trips that way, and maybe also get a glimpse at some of the other trips that we offer. And if you are already committed and you hear about this and say, oh my goodness, this is the type of, a trip with a purpose that I would like to try out, and you're ready to, sign and go on the trip, I think that it's really great to learn all that you can before going. I always recommend people to, maybe practice a little bit of Spanish on Duolingo. There's all sorts of free and easy ways to pick up languages. I also just love to just dive in the year before a trip and watch movies about the country, read books about it, learn all that you can, so that you're really prepared and able to get the most out of it and understand, where you're going and what you're going to be seeing.
Excellent. And how about you, Belen? Because you've kind of got that opposite experience of having lived over in the US, and then now you're kind of sharing, you understand kind of the US mentality coming to visit your country. So are there any tips that you would recommend just to help your guests kind of feel a little bit more at ease, I guess? It's exciting. They're only there for a week. They're not there for, a lifetime or anything, but still it can be uncomfortable when they're having to think about drinking out of the same straw as the person right next to them that they're not that
with. To just bring, like what I said before, bring definitely an open mind. And if you do want to see the country, this is the best way, because if you come alone as a foreigner, you can set up your own trip. You can get place on Airbnb and then go see a show and go walk on the streets, but you won't have the intense experience of experiencing so many tips in such a short time. If you are not with the right people and connected and with everything already set up, it would be impossible to do all the things that we in such a short time if you didn't have it all, pre-arranged, and also be working with the people from the inside, from that actually live in the country.
Beautiful.
So it's, I think it's, I would definitely suggest to join a group where it's already set up.
That's beautiful. And, I don't normally have a comment because obviously I'm brand new to this trip as well. I'm a perfect newbie for you guys as well. So I'm potentially a customer in that sense too. But, I know when I met Cindy, and Mexico for my family was brand new, and I had purposely scheduled 3 full months of sabbatical to be there because I didn't know anybody there. And my Spanish was okay. It's not great. You'll hear more of that in the future. But that for me, a place is really, it starts and ends with the people. And we knew traveling around, it was going to take us at least that long to start feeling settled in and start having a bit of a daily routine, even if that routine was only for 3 weeks long in one city. But, going to the bakery in the morning, getting the coffee from the same place, being a familiar face for a couple of weeks in a row, and being able to feel comfortable enough to chat with somebody. I agree with you. I think, having that in 1 week is really a very, very difficult prospect. So I really do love the way that you guys have shortcut all this kind of experience for people, so they don't have to take 3 months out of their year or life to try to figure out what is this culture like, and do they like it, what are the things that they love about it, that kind of thing. So I thank you for that. That's a really important point for people who are interested in really kind of, as you say, getting to know the culture a bit more. So having said that, I guess this is always the question too. There's a limited amount of spaces on this trip on purpose because you want to keep a kind of a quality trip, and obviously you can't be bringing huge amounts of people around to all these different experiences for them to have that. I think there's 20-25 people maximum. What is the limit on this, Cindy?
Yeah, the maximum is 20 guests, and then the hosts will also be along.
Okay.
So yeah, it is a very nice size group.
Okay.
Nice and
somebody who's on the fence and thinks, oh my gosh, this is starting to sound really like the way to go. It's got a lot of value in there. I see that. But there are certain kinds of travelers who this is actually not a good fit for. And others who I think we've talked a little bit about who it is a good fit for, but could you kind of, help sort those two types of people out for us and just tell us why this might not be a good fit for somebody?
Yeah, for sure. This is a great fit for anybody, like I said before, who's interested in art, music, food, people really wanting, we stay only at locally owned hotels. We try as much as we can to eat at locally owned restaurants. We have an in-country host. So it's definitely people who are interested in those types of experiences, but we also spend a lot of time out in nature. We have a few hikes. So it's people who love to be outdoors also, and who can, walk through the creeks and over the rocks and things like that. It's definitely not hard adventure. It's not extreme by any means. We're not doing any, strenuous hiking, but we're definitely getting out there and, hiking over some rocky terrain and doing some uphill hikes. So probably ideal for those types of folks.
Okay, great. And do you have other trips if there's somebody who maybe has some challenges with those kinds of itinerary?
Yes, definitely. Next year I'll be in 2021. So, that's a year and a half away.
Yeah.
We'll be doing a cultural immersion trip to France, And that is definitely geared for all accessibility levels.
Okay.
And also I'm working on a foodie tour, doing cooking tours, going out on the farms and seeing how the goat cheese is made and that type of thing, also to Italy and France. And that is really probably our most accessible trip.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So, you know, one thing I always like to address for people right off the bat, traveling is, you know, for many people, it's a luxury. They've been saving up for a while, and, you know, sometimes you get what you pay for, you know. So I will say that you guys run a super high quality trip, but there's a lot of value built into that. However, you know, for the price tag, some people may look at the price tag initially and be like, "Well, I'm not sure." But can you talk just a little bit about kind of, you know, I suppose the real value and the real excellence that people can look forward to, and you know why it's worth every penny, and actually you're probably undercharging for, in my opinion, for this experience for people.
I think you might be onto something there. When I start comparing,
Raise the prices or anything, but you know.
no, we're not. We do want it to be as accessible to as many people as possible, and I think that, you know, there's two types of traveling. You could go to the beach resort and slather yourself up with sunscreen and or tanning oil and drink unlimited beers all day, and that's, you know, some people's idea of a good time, and that is not what this is at all. And we're also not like racing to like check off, you know, bucket list items.
Okay.
So really the value in this trip is for people who want an intimate experience, who want to go places, go to a town that probably none of their friends have ever even heard of. You're probably going to be, you know, our group will be the only American tourists in town. So it's definitely a unique experience. And that's where the real value lies in this type of a trip.
So it feels and sounds very authentic. Like we're going to not just get the touristy hot spots. We're going to actually get a sense of Belen. You know, the way you grew up, the way your family lives, and you know, the fortunate thing is, and I'll just say it, is not everybody speaks Spanish, obviously, who's coming from outside Argentina. So, you know, to have that translated already built in is a huge value, in my opinion, as well, because there's plenty of people who wouldn't even think about Argentina or Chile just because they cut it out because it's not English speaking. On this trip, that's for sure, I know, one of the big pieces that's taken off the table in terms of a worry, because they'll be taken care of there. Would you have anything different to add to that, Belen, or?
Yeah, I think that's probably a big value. That's why we are working with Cindy together in this, because I am, you know, here. I know everybody knows me in town, and I'm well connected. I work with tourism for some years here, and I think it's a possibility to have the people to live the culture from within. They're going to be with actual people from the country. It's very hard to find that sort of experience unless you are with somebody from the country.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's like built-in friends.
It really is.
Exactly.
That's so nice. So nice.
And I think that every day of our trip, you can really have that experience. Also in Chile, I mean, not only here in Argentina, but, you know, when we go and spend a day in the Mapuche community and really have a translator there who's explaining their ideas and their beliefs and customs, and staying in Pucón in these amazing little cabins that are on this hillside that you look across and you see the volcanoes with, you know, the just perfectly framed, and the view is spectacular. But our host there, Christian, and his wife Graciela, they are beautiful people that are sharing their family and their way of life. They're sheep farmers, so we're staying there on their working farm in the cabins and having dinner with them. So yeah, it's just a special experience.
That's amazing. So, you know, I suppose one of the things that I was drawn to your company about, Cindy, is also just you've got these reviews. You couldn't pay people to say some of the reviews
Mm-hmm.
that they've said about just the experience. It is, you used the word earlier when we were talking about transformative, and I think that's the thing. Like, it is a very authentic experience. It's a transformative experience because it does, you know, there are a few times as adults when we kind of get outside of our routine and really have a spark reignited in us. And I think that that's one of these things, you know, certainly in our company, in Cross-Pollination, we look for operators like yourself who are really offering something of a lot different kind of value, and that being able to connect people genuinely across cultures. That's the whole point for us. So, you know, I for one am very excited about this trip. It's again, it's coming up in November of 2020, and appropriately, we only have 20 spots available for it. So I guess the one last thing I wanted to say is, you know, you obviously are doing something very, very right, because you've even got repeat customers coming. So what would you say, I guess, is you're now doing, instead of just going to one country, you're going to both. Would you have any highlights about Chile? We've talked a lot about Argentina, of course, because Belen is with us today, but are there any highlights that you might or give, you know, takeaways that you would want somebody to think about in terms of this double country tour?
Yeah, in some ways they're so different. I mean, I feel like really in Argentina, it's really about diving in, and like you said, Glenn, like knowing the internal way that the life is lived. And when we go into Chile, it feels maybe more like we're seeing some more external things, while also trying to spend time, you know, like I said, staying with locally owned lodgings and connecting with the people who live there, and the Mapuche community in the south. But I mean, for me, you spoke about having, as an adult, like it's not often that we have that spark of excitement anymore. You know, like, you know, when you're a kid and you're counting down the days till Christmas and you're just so excited. And for me, I think one of my highlights in Chile is just walking the streets of Valparaiso, because it makes you feel that spark. It's just so different, and it's like sensory overload in some ways. But I won't go into the history of it, but there's really a historical cause for this explosion of art and color and music and vibrancy in that city. And you walk out the door of your hotel, and it's just life all over, exploding forth. And I don't know, to me, that's a real highlight. And you know, vastly contrasting with that is from Valparaiso, we head south into the Lakes District of Chile. I think a lot of people overlook that. They go to Chile and they think of the desert in the north, or they go all the way south to the glaciers, to Torres del Paine in Patagonia. But in the middle of, or not in the middle, but in the middle of the area between Santiago and Patagonia, there's this region called the Lakes District, where there's just Valdivian rainforests and the lakes and the volcanoes and hot springs. And it's just so beautiful. And to spend a day walking through these misty rainforests with the Mapuche guide explaining their beliefs about the spirits in the forest is really unique. It's just a unique experience.
And you know, exactly, like how can you even book a tour, or you can book a tour possibly, but how can you even book on your own a chance to actually go in and meet some of these people firsthand, and, you know, have them kind of take you under their wing and be very welcoming and share something that's really deep and personal like that. You know, their daily life, it's very, very difficult to do. You know, you might be able to book a day tour, but I would even defy, you know, an independent, adventurous traveler to find something that would be quite as authentic and really welcoming in the way that you guys have set this up. So, you know, kudos. And this is, I think, why you're getting these rave reviews from, and you know, nothing speaks better. Reviews are one thing, but nothing speaks better about such an experience than having repeat customers come back, which is exactly what you have. So, you know,
it is yeah, it's such a rewarding experience to have that conversation at the last day of the trip and have your customer say, okay, Cindy, where are we traveling to next? You know, like, what's the next trip? So yeah, it's a definite vote for what we do. So.
Amazing, amazing. So let's talk a little bit of logistics here, so that people know, you know, how can they get involved if they want to get involved. They maybe heard, they're like, sign me up, ooh, after hearing us today. You know, they can obviously come to our website, crosspollination.com. They search for our Argentina Chile trip. It'll be right on the home page. They might have come here because they've heard this recording today, or they might have read a bit of the blog that comes out of this. But you know, tell us some of the logistics, the details, just so that, you know, deposits, that kind of thing. What do they need to do?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, if you find the link and you can download all of the information there for how to sign up. We have the deadline to sign up of July 7th of 2020. So 4 months in advance basically is when we close the trip.
Okay.
And to sign up, you do have to pay a deposit, and then 2 more, you know, payments, installments. So we're not asking for upfront payment of the whole entire thing. You can kind of spread that out over the year. And like you said, we're limiting it to 20 people because we want to keep it an intimate experience.
So what's not included in the package?
The package includes everything except for your airfare to and from South America.
Okay.
We like to leave that off because I find that a lot of people prefer to use their maybe frequent flyer miles, or maybe they want to come earlier or stay later. So to let people have that flexibility, that is separate. We let people take care of that on their own. But once you're on the trip, basically everything is included. Your lodging, most of your meals, there's a few meals where, you know, maybe we had a big, huge 3 o'clock lunch. And so then we don't include dinner that night, and people maybe can go into town and pick up a light bite or order a snack, some empanadas. You can try some empanadas. And all of the internal transportation is included. So private charter inside the country, or flights. We'll do a few flights. We'll be flying from Mendoza to Santiago, and then a few days later we'll be flying from Santiago on down south to the Lake District. So those internal flights are also included.
Okay, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So, and if somebody did not have frequent flyer miles and they just need a little bit of help sorting out air travel, do you have any recommendations? And what about things like?
I do. I have a private tour agent who I work with who can book flights. And so I could definitely pass on that information if you need help of any type.
We can see this is a total family involvement operation. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My husband was leaving. Say goodbye.
Okay.
You know, we all need people to just come in left stage and kiss us. That's how that works.
I know. Yeah. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
What about insurance, Cindy? What do you recommend?
I really recommend that everybody purchase their own travel insurance. We'll also have a link available for that where you can purchase your trip insurance.
Okay.
Trip insurance covers everything from, you know, God forbid something awful happens and you're not able to go on the trip, or, you know, something in your immediate family happens, to, I mean, I've had, you know, things happen, actually never in South America, but in Europe, when I've taken groups to Europe, in some of the big cities, You know, maybe people get pickpocketed or backpacks stolen. Trip insurance covers those types of things, so it doesn't have to end up ruining your whole vacation. But I've never had anything like that happen in South America.
Great idea. And have you had people come who are joining as a result of a special occasion, maybe where this is an important date that they're marking, like maybe an anniversary or a you know, or a honeymoon or anything like that? I'm just curious if there'd be any kind of, you know, other things that you might be able to recommend for those kinds of people.
You know what? Actually, our last group of travelers to Argentina and Chile, one of the women turned 50 and she got her passport for her very first time.
Oh!
And we were her first trip that she signed up for, and she invited a couple of her friends to come along. So it is a great idea to form your own group and sign up as a group, commemorating a big birthday or a special occasion, or family travel, you know, grandma bringing her grown kids along, you know, something like that. So
amazing. Excellent. Yeah. Well, I think that's probably all the time that we have today, but I'm just wondering, you know, if you guys have any last thoughts or tips or anything that you wanted to share, something maybe we didn't cover that that you think is important to let people know about.
Don't forget to sign up for July 7th.
Sign up before July the 7th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And definitely follow us on Instagram. That seems to be where I'm the most active. But I think that probably what I would like to share more than anything is that there's a real shift in thinking about traveling. And it's not happening only in the United States. It's a shift that's happening all around the world right now, where people just want something more. They live busy lives. They have a lot of responsibility. They're spinning a lot of plates at the same time, and they want to go away and in some ways stop spinning all those plates. But they also want to do something that matters. They want to do something that's improving themselves, where they're learning something. And for me personally, it's important to give that to people. But at the same time, it's very important to me that we do an ethical form of tourism, that we're helping local people where we go, that we're helping to support artists from around the world who have something important to share. And so that's what I'm really hoping to build with these types of cultural immersion tours.
Amazing, amazing. And really,
I would say something also that it's one of ours, and it's something that we work with for years, is that when they have their the experience in their trip with us, it's not any trip. It's not just a time vacation that they're taking off work, so they're just relaxing and not working. The idea is that they leave when they leave here, or they leave this trip after they do the tour, they're not the same people. They're really, I think, an improved version of themselves because of what they can discover through experience other cultures.
That's fantastic. Yeah. As we were saying, transformational a little bit in that. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Belen and Cindy, thank you both so very, very much. I know we've had a couple of funny moments between kisses coming in from left field and a few other things. This has been really wonderful to get to know both of you and the reasons why you've been putting these trips on. And, you know, we're thrilled to be offering it on crosspollination.com. I'm going to share the links for people so that they know how to learn more about each of you and your businesses, and get a little bit more information if they'd like to see, you know, kind of what they'd be signing up for. And of course, the itinerary for the trip, there'll be a basic itinerary. We won't have the full thing on the website because we like to keep some surprises up our sleeves to keep everybody, you know, getting that little sense of surprise and spark, which is always fun. But I will be sharing some of those links, and if there are any If there are any other questions about this trip, you can always reach out to us at hello@crosspollination.com. That's cross-pollination with one L. And I have been speaking with Cindy and Belen today. And today, let's see, I think it's sometime in early December in 2019, and we have about 7 months left before this sign-up period runs out. So definitely get in touch at hello@crosspollination.com if you have any questions. And again, thank you both very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.